Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight into it. So, what do we have here? So, the brother MF, you got to tell me what that MF stand for. Is that mother? Nah, MF, he says, a great lesson. This was way back, I believe, in January. Apologies, brother. I'm going to start, like, when brothers start commenting these recommendations on lessons and things like that, I'm going to start trying to get to them a lot sooner if I have a perspective to provide just to see what I can do. Because I'm not saying this like I know exactly what's going on with each comment or I even get that many comments. But if a brother do happen to email or send something in, I'm going to try to commit to getting to these a lot sooner now. I always want to do something on dating. So let me read this first. So great lesson. Appreciate that, brother. Lesson on polygamy, concubines, and dating in general would be very good. So I've been thinking about talking about this subject for a while, but like it's just so many different aspects of dating. But I do want to provide my perspective. Maybe it will help, maybe it won't. But I mean, you might as well shoot for number one. I think the concubines and polygamy part of this question really needs its own separate breakdown because, a lot of brothers feel a certain type of way about this. Now, me myself, I never used the word polygamy. Polygamy in itself, like let's look it up. I believe polygamy in itself really insinuates that a man or a woman can have, say, polygamy. Let's see what they say here. Polygamy, the practice or custom of having more than one wife or husband at the same time. So I don't deal with that word simply because it also insinuates that you can have more than one husband at a time. And we know that's going on. But can you have more than one wife? Absolutely. A lot of brothers and sisters don't really want to deal with that, but it is perfectly fine and biblical, of course, for a man to have more than one wife. Now, there's so many different things to go into when it goes to that. And concubine, what a concubine is, essentially is still a wife, just in a lesser role than a wife, but still a wife in itself. So, I mean, that's a whole separate topic. But dating, I feel like this is a big thing for us brothers that are pursuing the scriptures and we live in a certain way. We're not going out. We're not, at least we're doing our best not to do those things. We're not subscribing to the ways of the world. And it's really something else, especially when you are in the knowledge or what we call in the truth. It's really something else, ain't it? Because now you're not eating shellfish, and the so-called black woman, she loves shellfish. You're not doing certain things. You're not, especially a huge thing we know are the so-called holidays. So, I mean, how do you get around that? Here's my perspective on it. So, number one, before we even get to, quote unquote, dating and finding a woman, I think the number one thing to focus on is yourself. You have to work on yourself first. Are you really even ready for a woman? Do you have your own place? Do you have your own money? Do you have a job, a career, or a business already? Do you have a little money put back? Is your credit together? So that way, if you needed to get another place, or you need to get a place, or you don't have one, or you need to get one, you could do that at a moment's notice. If your credit is together, then you more than likely, even if you don't have the most cash, you still should be able to maneuver and get your own place if you need if you need to. That's the number one thing. And we always working on each other. So is there a certain spot you get to where you like, yeah, I'm perfect. Now I can get a woman. Obviously not. But at the same time, if you at least don't check those marks, if you don't have your own place, you don't really have a job, a stable job or career or business that's generating some income, you already know you shouldn't even be thinking about a woman really. And then even if you have those things, just because you got an apartment or you got your own place don't really mean that it's even time for real, because you don't want to just hop off the porch the minute you get yourself together a little bit. You know what I mean? Especially depending on your age. Like if you in your like younger 20s, these brothers in their younger 20s or maybe even younger than that, I mean, you really shouldn't even be thinking about a woman on a serious level. I believe it depends. If you got started a lot earlier, you've been had your own place since 21 and you're 24 now, 25. Maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe you're in a different place financially, but for the most part, a lot of us out here, the way that the society is built up now, it's a lot harder to be able to sustain yourself, um, and build up your net worth, or build up your cash flow and everything at a younger age. Normally, it takes in this society. Normally, it takes into your 30s to really kind of hit these types of goals for yourself. Now, with that being said, though, once you have yourself together, now looking for a woman, man, I think that here's my recommendation. So, because you used the word dating here, and I know what you mean, but like my recommendation, in my perspective on what brothers should be doing, just because you can have more than one wife does not mean you should have it. Just because it's biblical and it's not going off, it's not a sin, doesn't mean that you should do it. If it's my recommendation, and I don't mean this, I'm not insinuate when I say this. Let me just preface it by saying I'm not saying it's going out to have more than one wife or nothing like that, or I don't even frown down upon it or nothing like that at all. Zero. Whatever the Most High cool with, I'm cool with. However, in this society, I believe that for the most part, you should really be focusing on finding one good woman and then settling down from there. It sounds a lot more boring than being out here saying, "Oh, well, she's just my concubine," and you know, busting down women left and right, like a lot of us used to in the world. But that's just my recommendation. I mean, just for me personally, I love the peace that just having one woman provides, one good woman provides, where you don't have to worry about all the other nonsense. A lot of these brothers with multiple wives, just ask them, talk to them. They gonna tell you that's it's mainly a headache, and that's what having one woman is already something else. So having more than one, I mean, you got to think about it. Even when at the time of Jacob, when it was known that a man can have multiple wives, it was just commonplace. Just like it's commonplace right now to be quote unquote monogamous or have one relationship or one wife. Back then, it was just commonplace for a man to have more than one wife. It wasn't a big deal. Nobody looked at it any different from anything else. But women still had a problem with it. Look at Rachel and Leah. You know what I'm saying? Like they still had an issue with it. So you got to keep that in mind. If they had an issue with it back at that time, just think about now when we raised in this society where women are not, they're not raised to accept that or view that as a good thing, even if, they come into the knowledge and they read the scriptures and they understand that this, it's biblical. A lot of times it's still not going to fare well with them. It's just not. Some of them, I know there's a lot of women out here that are cool with it, but yeah, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because what if down the road, like I decide to get another wife? I don't know. I'd already told my my rib that one of these days I might just come up on a certain amount of money, and I might about 5-10 years from now or next year, I don't know, I might end up wanting to do it. So I don't want to be a hypocrite, but just for right now, it's just kind of where I'm at with it. I won't say that I won't ever have another wife, but I just like the stability and not having to pay for and provide for more than one woman, man. Because we know that they expensive for the most part. But anyways, dating though, dating. I will say another thing. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, the 6th chapter. All right, let's get verse 7. Sirach, Ecclesiasticus chapter 6. Let's go to verse 7. This is normally a verse that a lot of brothers and sisters pull. It says, "If thou wouldest get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him." Proving a friend or proving a woman, what we would call quote unquote courting or dating, even in this society, proving someone. So a lot of brothers and sisters read this and they don't understand like how long it really takes to prove somebody. Like if you ain't went through nothing with a woman before, you don't really know her. And it really goes for anybody, homie or whatever the case, so-called homie. You don't know somebody until you done went through something actually drastic with them. You know what I mean? So like you can be around somebody, especially if you don't live with them or nothing like that. You can be around them for like 3 years, but not really know them. Even longer, 5 years, and not really know them, depending on how long or what you've been through with them, so on and so forth. Like you really have to take your time to prove someone or um quote unquote date someone. So that's why my recommendation with this too, and I've always told brothers that know me personally will tell you, I've always told them this, that I think when we in this walk and it comes to quote unquote dating, I think the number one woman that you should go after is a woman that you went to school with or that you know through somebody else. Because to me, it at least takes off some of the time that you would have to take to kind of get to know somebody from just brand new, from just scratch. You didn't know they even existed at all because you found them on some type of dating app or something like that, which I don't really recommend. Now, I know brothers on these apps and stuff like that. I haven't been on it since, oh man, 20, I don't know, 12, 13 or something like that. It's been a minute since I used any of that stuff. I don't even know all the names of the different quote unquote dating apps now. I wouldn't really recommend that because now you have to kind of know somebody. I mean, you got to, just start way from scratch. You don't even know what this person was really on. Like to me, I like, I like kind of skipping it a little bit because especially in this society, like it's too much. It's too many transgenders and stuff out here, man. And these surgeries, man, they getting better and better at it now. I'm not saying that you don't have the discernment to tell between a man and a woman. All I'm saying is that y'all mean these folks that dark in the dark. Ooh, and that's how a lot of these they be talking about transgender violence and so on and so forth. Man, these men taking these quote unquote transgender women out. They find out they go back to the room and I don't blame them either. So, anyways, it's not saying that's like the only reason. It's just that if you went to school with someone, either high school, if you went to college, when you went to school with someone or you know someone through someone else, to me, it just skips the line a little bit because at least you would probably have heard that. If they were born something else, you might have already heard it. It's a better chance, at least from somebody you don't know. You know more about their ways if you kind of seen them around, or maybe they were even in a past relationship or something like that. You just may be prone to know more about them. So now you don't have to, as they say, go get the whole facts from other dudes and other people that they knew in their life before, especially depending on what age you are too. Now, if you're already in that age range, you know younger brothers out here that's the in the early 20s and things like that. Maybe that's not a concern from you because I mean you already there. But for us, in our 30s or brothers even older than that, later 20s, 30s, 40s or whatever, then you've been out of high school for 10 years, 15 years or something, even longer possibly. So, you get with a woman that's, you meet her at 30, like, bruh, that's a long time to not know nothing about her. It's a lot you have to learn about a person, when you don't know anything about them at all. They just kind of appear. You didn't even know they existed. So that's always been my suggestion, especially if you went to college. I mean, just think about that woman to me. Just think about that woman that you knew about. She looks good, beautiful, feminine, all of those good traits of a good woman. However, nobody, nobody really wanted to get at her like that, but she still seems to be a good person. I mean, that's the woman that I would target if I was a brother looking for someone. Now, Say if, but that's only if you're a relationship type of brother. I mean, everybody is not, really built for that. Everybody don't want to be settled down with somebody. So I get that. I can't knock you if that's not you. Like, man, brother, I ain't gonna do right. I already know me well. I would say you really need to control yourself because all bread is sweet to a homemonger, right? The scriptures tell us that, and you don't want to be someone that can't control themselves so much that just kind of addicted to sex, and that's what you got to do. You got to be going from woman to woman. But say if that's not really you just don't want to settle down right now, whatever the case, that's actually a good thing. You should really be by yourself until you know for a fact like that I'm looking for a wife. Not a wife would be cool, but like I actually want a wife. Then it's time. But anything before that, just gotta. I just think you should be by yourself because these women, man, you just never know their intentions. They have you out here messed up, and now you can't hit your own personal goals. You're not building yourself up at your job, your career, your business because the woman distracting you. You spending a lot of time with her. You spending a lot of money. You going on these trips. You worry about this or that. She putting you through this makeup breakup cycle. All these types of things. Like I feel like brothers should not be dealing with. And that brings when you're not dealing with that, it brings that stability to your life, and that's why I said in the first place. That's what my recommendation is. You just you build yourself up. If you feel like you still got things to do, especially if you live with your parents or something like that, even if you got a roommate, you probably should just be living by yourself. That way you bring your woman back. You ain't got to worry about, one or more brothers being in there at the same time and sharing a living space. Ain't nothing wrong with that, though. I did it for years. When I relocated, when I came here. By the way, and I'm pretty sure brothers know this, but the reason this channel is named Birmingham Brews is because we all live in Birmingham, Alabama. But when I first moved to Birmingham, I had a roommate for a while, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you really should be by yourself too. It ain't got to be a house because maybe you working towards that. You don't want to get in a house right now, and that's cool too, depending on your age and your goals and everything. But at least an apartment, at least your own apartment, and you want to move up. You don't want the the wackest apartments, the cheapest ones, which ain't nothing wrong with that too. If you by yourself, as long as it's not roach infested or it's not in a too rough part of the neighborhood where folks out there shooting and stuff. You know how Jake is, but you should have your own place, really. A nicer apartment or something like that. While you building up, while you working on yourself. If you ain't working on yourself, then what are you doing? You shouldn't even be worried about a woman at all. You can't be scared to be by yourself. Man, take some time out to yourself and work on yourself first. Because again, you got to be whole. A lot of brothers and sisters, they looking for somebody to make them whole, to complete them. You got to already be whole. The woman got to be whole that you get with too. She can't be a work in progress. You got to already be put together. You can't be looking for a woman for emotional support and all this other stuff, man. And she can't be looking from the same for you. And that's how you end up becoming a therapist. You ever been with a woman, you feel like you were their therapist, you were they family therapist. You just had to go through daddy issues and mommy issues and get them together. It's just too much work. That's not what a real relationship should be about. But that's what I believe. I just believe that you should work on yourself first. Once you have these things, then boom. Now you look. And then as you looking, take your time with the woman. Prove her first. She does have to be your friend. And I know that's kind of cliche nowadays for someone to say, "Oh, that's also my best friend," but it's so real. That the woman that you get, I mean, y'all have to just. She really should be the closest person that you, outside of children, if you have them, that should be your person. That woman should be like the first person you think about when you think about telling something to somebody or you want to confide something, you want to tell somebody good news, it should be a woman. You should have that type of trust in her. And it takes a long time to build that trust. And again, y'all have to go through things like money involved, go through things, or something tragic. Like you have to see how people respond. If not, you never gonna know that person. Especially with the woman, they put on this interview. They are master um interview stagers. So just like when you go on an interview and you wearing your best clothes, you're giving them the best answers, you didn't research interview questions. What is your biggest weakness on the job, or something like that, and you really give them a strength? Well, sometimes I just work too hard. That's the same thing that the woman is doing. When you first meet her, for the most part, she, man, a woman, especially the so-called black woman, I mean, she is a master at that. She's gonna look at the things that you into, and that's why a lot of y'all be getting deceived about the woman. You thinking that she cool with the scriptures and she gonna be in the knowledge with you, and then she end up flipping it on you. 3 6 months, or it could be longer, depending on how long she able to put the act up. That's why she end up deceiving you, because they are really good at it. They gonna go in, act like they're interested in everything that you're interested in. In the moment they get tired of putting up that act, they're going to take off the mask and you're going to see what they're really about. That same stuff that they used to say, oh, yeah, I love when you read the Bible. Then it's going to become, wow, why you always in the Bible? And, you know, really, Christianity, there's nothing really wrong with it. I don't think that, you know, just one people should be saved. All this little different stuff. That's the type of stuff they going to tell you, man. Even though they acted like they were cool with it in the beginning, for the most part. That's why you have to really take your time. Take this scripture to heart, because a lot of brothers know it, but a lot of brothers don't do it. They don't know how to actually live this. And when it comes to the scriptures, man, you can't just be somebody that know the scriptures. You got to live them. It's much better to not be able to recall, not be the brother that can recall all the scriptures off the top of their head as well as somebody else, but actually be living it, versus being somebody that all the precepts, all the scriptures, but in real life you don't know how to apply them. You have to know how to apply this. Again, when you have somebody, say you with them right now, if you haven't been through anything with them, you don't really know them. Okay. Like if you ain't never traveled nowhere with them, you don't know how they are. That kind of gives you a preview of how they are a lot of times. I used to always wonder why every time I travel with a woman that I'm with, we always had a worse time. We taking all these pictures and posting them like we had a great time, but really, I was going through. We was getting into it on nothing but a 3-4 day trip. We getting into it and stuff. It's because you get to really see more of how it's like to live with that person. And speaking of living with someone, you should not be jumping and doing that either. You got to really prove a woman first before you just move them in, especially you paying all the bills and stuff. I don't care if they go 50-50. It don't really matter. Either way, you really need to take your time with that too. So I can't put a time frame on it, how long I would say a brother should need to wait before they move somebody in. But I think that it's also very necessary to do too, to a woman that at least qualifies to go past the next stage of you taking them serious, if they have exuded the traits of a wife. Speaking of the traits of a wife, I'm gonna talk about that in a second, but just to finish this thought. So yeah, when you go out on a trip with a woman, that's a lot of times where you get to see how she is. That gives you a preview of what it will be like to live with her, because you literally are living with her. You get a hotel, Airbnb, or whatever the case for that period of time. It's almost like living with her, or it is for that, for that time that you get to see some of their habits, some of their ways. Are they nasty? Do they not clean up behind themselves in a bad way? Do they do this? Do they do that? And when you're around them like 24/7, a lot of times, a lot of people, they way different than what you thought they were. So you got to do that first, I believe, several times before you just move in with a woman too. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, I mean, they definitely have to be proven first. And take your time, man. Take your time. Prove the woman first. Do we have to read this again? Let's get Sirach chapter 6 and verse 7. If thou wouldest get a friend, because your woman, she has to be your friend. Again, your best friend. Not just a cliche. It has to be real. That has to be a woman you really like. Wow, this is the Most High made her for me. If you're looking for a wife, that is. That's how you should look at it. The Most High made her for me. This is me right here. And not based off of feelings and emotions. You know what I mean? Based off of, wow, she had my back when this happened. You know, we did this way. When she had this happen, I had her back. She reacted in this way. She could have did this, but this is how she reacted. Over time, too, over years. I would say over years. Over years. You know, multiple 3, 4, 5 years it might take. Really depends on the woman and, you know, how long you've known her, so on and so forth. But yeah, before you really just, brothers be out here calling these women they know less than a year, didn't even know they existed less than a year ago, calling them they rib and they wife. I just don't understand it. Now, you don't even know this person. Your wife represents you. She's a representation of you. Why would you call somebody you don't know a representation? You talking about your wife, your rib. Like, that's wild to me. Just because y'all got up, you might have some sex and, you know, y'all talking good to each other. Y'all been talking on the phone. Y'all kicking and stuff. That ain't your wife. Like, come on, brother. Anyways, if thou wouldest get a friend, prove him or her. You know, I'm not adding to the scriptures, just saying. In this context that we're speaking on here, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. Be not hasty to credit the woman, or to give her a title. That's being hasty to credit her, calling you this woman a wife, and you know her like 6 months or something. That's crazy. That's nasty right there. And I don't be understanding because I don't know. When I was in the world, I was one of these brothers that I was definitely a womanizer. You have to admit your sins. I definitely was a womanizer, but I was never. So when I was in the world, I didn't have a lot of those issues with just, you know, commit to random women and, you know, engaged. I'm so-called engaged and all this other stuff. Because with my rib, she was the first woman that I ever lived with or anything like that. And yeah, I was with a lot of women back in the day, but I never did all of that. And that's why I don't get when brothers be so hasty to move forward with women. It doesn't make sense to me. And you really, man, another aspect of this is the quote unquote red pill movement. I think that's something else that maybe it could be its own separate video, but I'll touch on it now and then we can talk about it again later. But this red pill movement, man, is something else because brothers in the knowledge are embracing this, and it trips me out because, man, that ain't in the scriptures. Like, to go get a passport bros and all this other stuff, like, it's not inside the scriptures. You don't have to do that. You should be able to find a woman here for the most part, but if you can't, I'm not saying that if you happen to go on a trip and you found a woman in Colombia or whatever countries brothers going into, somewhere in South America, Mexico, or brothers going to Asia, you going to Bali, and all these other places getting these women. I'm not saying that you can't find a woman there, or maybe even Jamaica or something. I don't know. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that per se, but I wouldn't leave out trying to find a woman because there's other things that's going on with that too. They know that y'all coming. You know, they know about the movement now, so you got to be on a watch out for them too. Just because they grow up in a culture that they're taught to be more feminine in a submissive role than a lot of the women here, does not mean that you out the fire yet. I mean, again, they could be taking advantage of you. I mean, you never know that those women, just like what happens here, a lot of times brothers end up getting robbed or even worse. Now you're organ somewhere on the black market because you went out there and you saw this woman hitting on you, but really the cartel set the woman up to it. Now, they didn't robbed you, took your life and your liver. Now your liver on sale in the black market for $5.99. All right, you know what I'm saying? So you're not out the fire yet. You still gotta watch yourself, even if you do that. But outside of that, even outside all of that, that don't mean that you just go find you this super fine, beautiful, submissive wife just because you go to another country. And really, I feel like if you feel that you got to do that, you really putting a woman on a pedestal. For real, to me, his passport, bros, ain't in the scriptures nowhere. All right, and we look, y'all know what I'm saying when I say that, right? I'm not saying there has to be a chapter in the Gospels about being a passport bro, but I'm just saying that the way that brothers that's in the knowledge, or what we call in the truth, the way they I've been seeing a lot of them online act about it, like, bro, like you can't, to me, you can't call yourself in the knowledge and then you find it as like a viable option. Like, yeah, brother. I mean, most high place these women over here for, like, bro, what? That's kind of crazy. But again, I'm not even saying that you can't find a wife over there, but like, no, bro, that's kind of up there with like no fap and all that other stuff. Like, come on, dog. That's come on. I mean, if you do that stuff, just know that you're doing it. Don't act like it got anything to do with the scriptures. But so now that we talked about the red pill, all this other nonsense. So my perspective again on quote unquote dating or just finding a woman, because I feel that especially when you pass the age of, you in your late 20s or so, you should be looking for a wife. Um, the qualities that I believe that brothers should be looking for. Number one, if we talking about physically, I always believe that a wife, for the most part, she's not going to be this woman that you first see her and she just gonna be the finest thing that you've ever seen before. Like, and I think if that's what you're looking for and you want that in a wife, you probably gonna end up being disappointed, because if we talking about, quote unquote Instagram model type of attraction, a lot of those women, I mean, they know they look good. It's gonna be hard for you to, I don't know, man, especially ones with like an actual personality, because I've met and even been with different women that were very attractive. They had no personality whatsoever. So we talking about a really attractive woman. We talking about, I won't say 8, but I say 9 and 10, depending on what brothers define as a 9 and 10. Just you see her and she just wow, this you'll tell your homeboy about her. You see her out like, wow, I saw this chick. Wow, she looked good. The odds of that being a wife is not as high. Not saying that brothers have to sacrifice looks. They don't have to sacrifice looks, but a lot of times what we don't realize is that when it comes to looks, a lot of women are beautiful, but when you see a woman like that, it's more of like the sex appeal that's attracting you, aka lust, than it is just her actual beauty. So a lot of women that brothers look past because they don't have that type of sexual energy protruding from them, which is a good thing, because I believe that a wife material woman, that's the type of spirit that they have on them. They don't give off sexual appeal all the time. Okay, so every time that you see a woman, she doesn't have to be, what they say, quote unquote, love at first sight, which is really no such thing, because like we read here, you have to prove a woman first to be able to love them. You have to go through something with them to love them. You can't just see a woman and now you love. You can be in lust, but you can't be, well, you shouldn't be in love either, but you can't even love a woman by a first sight. Doesn't make any sense if you know what love is. But anyways, but with that being said, so for the woman, I believe if we looking for a wife, it's just not going to be like that all the time. You know, she's probably going to be more of a 7 to 8 range versus a 9 or 10 range. That's just normally how it is. But she'll be a 10 to you, just with somebody else if they saw her, what they may think. And when I say characteristics, I mean just things that I can think of. And this is not a full list or something or nothing like that. But I think the number one thing is being submissive. If you tell a woman, I'm looking for a submissive woman, and then like if you was on this balloon popping show, like I got pulled up here, because this is what made me think about the request with the dating thing, how this balloon popping show has been trending a lot here lately. And I wanted to kind of go through this and look at it later, but we'll do that another time. If you say the word submissive, or I'm looking for a woman to be submissive, and they turned off by that, she ain't the one, bro. She ain't the one. And if you say that word like on this show right here, all the balloons they gonna get popped. You already know it. if the you a brother coming on there and you got the panel of women, they gonna pop the mess out the balloons, because to the Babylonian woman here, which all these women in this society, since it is Babylon, I mean they're Babylonian by spirit and nature. They're gonna take that word to mean controlling or something to that extent, because they've been taught in this society that they don't have to listen to a man and they is equal or greater than a man. So you say that word, then you're gonna repel a lot of women right there in itself. But just because a woman say, yeah, I'm submissive, or I want to be submissive, don't mean that she a wife or nothing, but you at least know that if you say that and it repels them, then you saved yourself. But I think that's the number one trait, because a wife material woman, she's looking for a man to submit to. Okay. She's looking for a man to submit herself to. She wants to be led. Now, that's also cold. Wants to be led. A lot of women will say they want to be led, but they really don't. They just know that men are looking for women that want to be led, so they'll say things like that. Speaking of finding a woman, you have to be a great discerner of spirits, because a wife material woman, that is a spirit that they have on them. That's a spirit. That's not just physical. That's something that's in their spirit. You can't transform a concubine or less, a harlot, a whore, into a wife material woman. We all know the saying. You can't turn a hoe to a housewife. We know that. That's real. That's a real saying. That's because it's not just physical or mental. It's spiritual. It has to be on their spirit. And 9 times out of 10, the most I can do anything, but 9 times out of 10, if they weren't like that all the way through from high school, college, and up, they probably not gonna ever be a wife material woman, unless you count these women that's out here in their late 40s and stuff. Now they want to settle down, unless you want to count that, but don't nobody want that, right? They've already been through it and they just can't find a man. Now they want to settle down and now they want to be submissive. But unless you're looking for that, and you're not that age, then yeah, if they not like that now, they not ever gonna be like that. You gotta pay attention to everything. You have to be a great discerner of spirits. You do, and that's why you take your time, because even the greatest of men have fallen from the woman. They are master manipulators at times, depend on the woman, but they master manipulators. They just are. That's the general nature of a woman, that a lot of times are not even outright taught to them, but they still be knowing how to manipulate men. Like no grandma of theirs or mama there sat them down and say, you know what, this is how you act like you into a man, but then you do this, you do this. A lot of times they don't verbally say it. It just be on them. The Most High set them up that way, because a woman can either be your greatest asset or your greatest liability. A lot of times it's not anything in between. And the Most High set it up that way, right? We know that. And there's scriptures that I'm thinking of as I'm saying this, and maybe I'll put them on the screen. But for this one, I just want to, we can get scriptures, but I just want to kind of get into some things that brothers can actually start applying and thinking about, and not just throwing scriptures that they really don't know how to apply in their face. But either way, anyways, so that's like one of the number one traits to me is finding a woman that's submissive. She wants to submit. Don't go just by her words. Actually see if you tell her to do something that she don't want to do, is she actually going to listen? Is she going to do that for years down the road? If you tell her, hey, I'm not with you really going out with your friends or something like that, is she going to say, okay, that's what, okay, yes, sir. Even if every woman going to try to bargain, they could try to bargain, but if she gives that authority to you at the end of the day, she going to listen to you, then she ready to submit. If she, well, look, at least that's a sign that she may be ready to submit. But if she does that consistently, then she may actually be a submissive woman. But for me too, I mean, loyalty, cleanliness, being quiet, serene, virtuous. We know Proverbs 31, who can find a virtuous woman? Caring, considerate, feminine. Like, these are the different types of things that I personally think are important when it comes to a wife, right? Especially feminine. A lot of these women have been taught to be masculine. I'm an independent woman and I can take care of myself, and that's masculine energy, right? And even if you have a woman with a business, doesn't mean they're like anything wrong with that per se, but they still want to be led. They still want to be submissive. They just want to do their own thing, and maybe that's a good thing because, like, I really think I'm not going to say that. It really depends on where you are, but I was just going to say you want to get your woman out of corporate America if you can as soon as possible, because that's where a lot of, not corporate, but any job force, it's best to try to get them up out of there as soon as you can, because that's where a lot of confusion lies. But anyways, that's another story. Those are some of the traits that I can think of off the top of my head that I believe a wife material woman has. So that's what the whole pursuit of quote unquote dating is to me, is to, one, work on yourself. Now, in between time, meantime, obviously you may have a woman or two or three or five that you that you keep, in between, but just don't force a woman. To me, at least in my opinion, I don't think you should force a woman to try to make you do anything serious while you're working on yourself. If you just need something to, it's agreed upon that both of y'all are doing this. I'm not gonna say it's not like a friends with benefits type of thing, but also at the same time, you're not, settling down at that particular time. Maybe, especially brothers in younger, in your early 20s and stuff, or late teens, maybe, 18, 19 or something. Maybe that's different, but especially for y'all been in that corner to 30, you're 25 plus. I mean, just think you should focus less and less on a woman, focus more and more on yourself. Really try to get your finances together so that way, just in case your woman is tripping, she not the one that paid for your apartment or your house, and she can put you out. That reminds me of some more scriptures too as well in Sirach, the 25th chapter. But, you don't want the woman maintaining you, right? So you got to have your own stuff, have your stuff together, your mindset together too. You have to be actually working on your goals. You got to have goals too. If you ain't got no goals, then you actual things that you can achieve, a goal that you're working on, not just I want to make money. That's not a goal. That's just a statement. Like, you actually working towards, okay, I'm in school for this so I can get this job, or I'm starting this business by doing this, and I'm going to do this. Those are actual tangible goals, not just I know I'm going to make some money or this or that. You see what I'm saying? So once you do that, you're 25 plus. I think it's time you can start considering it. But really, I mean, the way this world is set up, whew, I think it's really for men to be in their 30s or so before they even start trying to do anything too serious. For the most part, at least. What I was, 28, latter part of 28, really more 29 when I first started taking my woman a little bit more serious. So yeah, I mean, that's why I would say that's a good time to really start taking women serious. But anything before that, you probably should be working on yourself. And again, unless you already got your stuff together, which is a lot less uncommon in this society, the way that it's set up, with inflation and so on and so forth. So that's really my perspective on dating. Um, Going out here and just entertaining these females and spending money and time on it is just not my thing. I really stopped doing that even before I came into this knowledge. I really stopped doing that. I was, dating some women here and there, but I remember the last like two women that I dated before I got with my rib. I just, I really ghosted them because, and it was nothing even. Well, one of them, she had a son, and I wasn't really with that. Just that was just my personal preference. But outside of that, like it was nothing really wrong with her that I saw. And I look at her now, and wow, she's like I don't know, she looked like she pretty much in the music industry. I knew she could sing at that time, but she's like blowing up. I didn't think there was nothing wrong with her, but yeah, I didn't get that wife material vibe from her. I couldn't see myself with her long term, so I just stopped talking to her. In the type of brother that I was back in the day, oh nah. And I knew I could. Let me just start talking real here. I knew I could hit it and everything. All right, that'd been me back in the day. Oh, I would at least did that, but I said nah. Let me just let me just cut off. I don't see nothing going on. I know I'm not gonna be with her long term, so I'm finna just let it go. And this is way before I knew anything about my rib or knew that we were actually gonna settle down. But I still was like, nah, I'm good. And I mean, that's just what I feel about quote unquote dating. I just don't depend on your age. I think before 25 or so, because you're still younger and you still it's kind of harder to control your hormones and stuff at that age, and you may be out here like, man, I ain't finna just sit down. I got the time too, but the older you get, the more you mature and things get real. You get more bills, and it's time to really focus on yourself. And as they call out here, secure the bag. I just think that should be the main focus. And until the end, I mean, be out here quote unquote dating. I mean, yeah, I just personally don't condone it. And I'm not trying to sound like over righteous or anything either, brothers. I promise I'm not. It's just how I truly feel about it because I just think it's a waste of time. We know that a lot of women out here, they just trying to get brothers to take them out so they can get free meals. I don't know the type of dude that I wasn't trying to let no woman get no free date up off of me. That's just how I was. I was on the we don't give um, money to women type of energy. I wasn't really about that. I didn't even really know how to date like in college and stuff because I was just into going over a chick house or her coming over to mine. That's just the truth. It, it took me a while to actually start taking girls out and going on dates and going to museums and speakeasies and I mean not speakeasies, excuse me, spoken word events and parks and Starbucks and brunch, those types of dates. Like I wasn't doing that type of stuff, man, because I went into spending money like that. Like I felt like I could get a woman that I didn't have to do all that stuff with and be seen with publicly to to hit it. again, I'm finna just start talking real on here just to hit it. So so yeah, that just wasn't my thing. So that's why I'm not a fan of it personally. But if you are going to do it, at least make sure that the woman that you dating, if you're not ready to take anything serious, man, you gotta at least check her spirit and make sure she ain't on nothing crazy either. Man. Brothers gotta watch themselves. I'm just too protective at this point over the things that I worked hard for. I just view every woman as this distraction, this potential demon that's ready to come in my life and just cause all types of chaos and confusion and destruction. That's pretty much how I view every woman, no matter what she looks like physically. And then maybe you thinking, oh man, this brother just talking. I don't know how else to tell you, brother, but again, I'm not trying to sound over righteous or nothing like that. That's just how I view the woman. I've read the scriptures enough times to know that, brothers got put through hell with the woman, man. Every fall. Look at Adam. We can go through it. We can go from top to bottom. All great wars pretty much were fought over women, dang near. Not all great wars, of course, but there's a lot of wars and nations colliding with each other over a woman. Y'all watch Troy. You know what I mean? Like hey, bro. The woman, man. She can be the greatest asset in your life or the greatest liability. That's why you have to be very careful who you choose. And a lot of brothers, to me, and I feel like this lesson is going many different areas, and I feel like I should pick up a lot of different things that we touched on here and have their own separate lesson, or me just providing my opinion on it. So I'm just kind of getting everything out on my thoughts. I don't have anything like scripted or anything, so I'm just kind of just flowing off the different topics that I did write down I wanted to touch on, but outside of that, I don't have a script. But anyways, yeah, the woman, man, I just feel that she's greatest. You could be your greatest asset or your greatest liability. And yeah, I was saying the brothers, man, brothers be complaining about the woman, man, and I just don't get it because like y'all read the scriptures and you know how the woman gets down. So like, how are you surprised? I don't be getting it. And I know that's just me, but like a lot of brothers be getting shocked and confused when a woman do them in or do them dirty. And I'm like, bro, you read the scriptures. You know that they like this. Like, and it's even worse. We in Babylon, the land of confusion. Babylon means confusion. Or Babel means confuse or confusion. We are the land or in the land of confusion. Okay. Just like, I mean, they just have no choice. They have no choice. These women were rooted up in rotten soil. Okay. This being this society, the different ideologies that they taught from just a little girl, the different Disney movies that teaches them that they're a princess. They deserve Prince Charming, no matter who they are. Even if they're a harlot, they're congratulated over. They're praised for it. It doesn't matter what the women do. They just a princess, and that's all part of the different programs or different programming that this society has very intentionally put in front of our women, because they already know that if you can control the so-called black woman, then in a lot of ways you can control the so-called black man. And we really the number one enemy here. All right, because they know who we are according to scripture. But anyway, so that's why I don't get it when brothers complain, because it's like you the one that picked wrong. It's on you. It's 100% on you. You picked wrong. Talking about the black woman destroyed the black. Yeah, we already know that though. You already knew that going in. You're in captivity. This is Babylon. So why you blaming a woman? Like, niggas be out here blaming a woman. I don't be getting it. I don't get it. Like, it's on you. It's your fault. If you picked the wrong woman and you find out she was a harlot, she was this, she was that, that's your fault. You didn't pick diligently. It's your discernment, not hers. It's not her fault. A woman gonna do her, man. Like, she thinking about She don't think about higher things like the man do. The man be thinking about legacy and be thinking about, all types of things as far as, building a foundation, building something that actually makes sense. A woman just be thinking about having fun. She just be thinking about, going out and spending money and shopping and stuff like that. Like she don't be thinking about deep things, even if she comes off like that on the front end. Because some women are more intelligent than others, but that doesn't mean that she's still not a woman that's, an opportunist. Like, come on, man. So, if you, no matter what she look like, you get a woman and she end up being wicked, that was on you. You picked the wrong woman, not her. It's your fault. You couldn't see through the lies. That's on you. So don't blame the woman. We already know they out here like that. So, anyways, I think that's pretty much it. That's my views on dating. Personally, I just think dating just because it's whack. Maybe if you're younger, you still need some time to kind of develop. Then yeah, have at it. Still, even with that being said, watch the women that you with. These young girls, they still can destroy you too. And then after that, isolate yourself if you need to. Get your stuff together. You ain't got to be perfect, but you dang sure at least need your own place. You need to have some money put back. Get your credit together so that way, again, if you need to go get an apartment, or some say you move in with a woman, you want to be that brother that you move in with somebody, and since they doing 50-50, you can't really afford to live by yourself, so you kind of stuck, but you need to get rid of the woman. You don't want to be in that position. Even me myself, like, cause say it ain't gotta be nothing like wicked going on. Like, God forbid that something happened to your wife or something. You still need to be able to operate by yourself. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't have that support from both of your parents or one of your parents, whatever the case. Like, you have to be able to stand on your 2 feet by yourself. Cause really, like, a lot of brothers don't get this. Like, a woman is an addition to you. Like, you should be able to do everything you can do without the woman with her. She literally just enhances everything that you already have. But even that, I mean, that's to a certain extent. Like, once what Kevin Samuels and others call a quote unquote high value man, which is not just making 6 figures and all that, but a high spirited man, or however we want to, phrase this or term it. Once you are that type of man, you're not looking for no woman to really do too much for you. Except, give you peace and give you children, and I'm not saying, I'm not marginalizing a woman. I'm just saying, like, you shouldn't like rely on her for essential things is what I'm getting at. I'm not marginalizing the woman because we need a woman, and I'm not saying that she's not important or vital or anything, because she definitely is. The woman and the man, in a sense, they're not equal, but we both are equally important to a certain extent, right? Again, not equal. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as equality, and a woman is not above a man. Matter of fact, the scriptures tell us that the woman is the weaker vessel. But what I am saying is that we just play different roles. Like, the woman has her role that's vital and as important as the man's role. But at the same time, again, you have to kind of realize that about the woman. She's just there, to enhance you. You shouldn't be relying on the woman or expecting the woman to do this and that for you. Like, yeah, man. I mean, again, once you reach a certain level, that's why it's important to have your stuff together. Don't be one of these brothers that, I ain't trying to do nothing. Y'all shotgun, society go in and this and that. And now you don't want to work on yourself. Like, don't be one of them brothers, man. Which is something else I want to talk about, anyways. But yeah, I feel like I went in many different directions on this lesson. I didn't have anything in particular like scripted out and planned, so I just went into different thoughts that I had. But as I go through and edit this, I'm gonna take notes on different things I want to touch on individually, like, maybe what to look for in a wife and all of that. Maybe we need to talk about that more. Or if brothers have specific questions that I can provide a perspective on, whether it's email or just in the comments below, then shoot for it. And I'm a brother that's been married for over 6 years now, or some around there. So, and I had experience before, so I mean, I'm not somebody that's been married for 20 plus years yet, but I do have a certain perspective. I have certain thoughts and everything that I possibly could provide. So yeah, Lord willing, this was edifying. You can comment below if you have any specific questions about dating or anything like that, or shoot me an email. But outside of that's pretty much it. Lord willing, this was edifying. Until next time, bid everyone a mighty shalom.